In this video, we are going to go over one of the rare heavy mechs in the history of Battletech, and to some extent, even the tabletop game and other media itself. The mech in question is the Ostroc. A heavy mech weighing in at 60 tons, this Battlemech is a relatively rare sight to be seen in the Inner Sphere. Designed by Ostmann Industries, a Seoul-based manufacturing and arms company, this machine, along with its cousins, the Oscout and the Ostall, were produced from 2500 to 2700 approximately, and though these designs were popular among their users, they were never produced in large enough numbers, and eventually the factories used to construct these vehicles were destroyed. Of the Ostmechs, the Ostroc is the most well-known design. What examples remain were most prolific among the DCMS during the Succession Wars and leading into the Clan Invasion. The Mechwarriors who piloted the original design, the OSR-2C, during the Star League era and Succession Wars, considered it to be a quality mech to be assigned to, despite its rarity. Even in the years after the recovery of the Helm memory core, the Ostroc was largely looked over and not embraced by manufacturers for the most part, with the exception of the Capellan Confederation after the Clan Invasion, who would begin to produce the model once again in 3067, in many ways saving this relic series from extinction in the Inner Sphere. Originally built and intended for urban defense, the Ostroc was designed to be relatively slim and to have a minimum silhouette, to adhere to this by helping it better conceal itself and negotiate its way through trees or buildings. With the changes in warfare through the Inner Sphere, however, this machine, like almost all Battlemechs, could be routinely deployed into suboptimal conditions. In the case of the Ostroc, its firepower and capabilities were diverse enough that during the Succession Wars, it could broaden its horizons enough as a war machine to allow it to compete in more environments than just heavy terrain and built-up areas. The OSR-2C comes deployed with a 300 VLAR standard engine, giving it an extremely favorable movement rate of 86 km per hour at maximum speed, which translates into 8 movement points in the tabletop game. In terms of firepower, this model comes equipped with twin Fyrstrom large lasers, as well as twin Fyrstrom medium lasers, and finally a Totschangden, forgive my pronunciation, short-range missile rack. For a 60-ton mech, this amount of firepower is not insubstantial. To support this dense amount of weaponry, the OSR comes with a totality of 15 heat sinks, allowing it to move and fire a multitude of systems, though certainly not all of these systems without overheating. Finally, in terms of protection, the OSR-2C comes with a moderate amount of armor, which is valued at 9 tons. It's important to note that there were, for an extended period of time, limited alterations to the OSR, or refits which were drastically underproduced for the OSR, partially due to its rarity and the lack of ability to actually produce new mechs. For instance, it had no official 3049-3050 field refit kit, though some would find a solution to this, which we will see shortly. The OSR-2L first appeared in 2884 during the Succession Wars. It would replace the SRM-4 launcher with an LRM-5 launcher to improve its long-range capabilities. This is functionally the only change on the unit. The OSR-2D was the cutting-edge variant of the model utilized by the Star League, featuring twin ER large lasers as well as double heat sinks to offset the increased heat that the unit would generate. During the Clan Invasion, any commanders who could acquire the parts for this refit would attempt to integrate them into the aging chassis which still remained in their forces, but there was no promise of this appearing necessarily. The OSR-4K would be the true return of the Ostroc to the Draconis Combine, being introduced first as an upgrade kit in 3077 before going into full production after the Blakist conflict. It possessed a heavy-duty gyro and a twin snub-nose PPC, as well as 2 ER medium lasers. It downgrades the engine from a 300 standard to a 240 to give it more weight to add in these new systems, which also includes jump jets for enhanced maneuverability. The final design we're going to cover today is the OSR-4L. the first true redesign, and the first new model produced of the OSR since the early days of the Succession Wars. Designed by the Capellan Confederation, it uses endo steel and carries inner sphere ER large lasers and ER medium lasers. Jump jets were further added to the system, as well as a Guardian ECM. In addition, the unit also utilizes stealth armor. This variant was brought together overall to change its role to an infiltrator as much as a direct combatant, making it exceptionally lethal. The primary strength of the OSR and all of the configurations available seems to be its ability to hit hard in close and to reach out and hit targets at medium range. Though some later models would allow this to change more significantly, such as the OSR-4L, overall its role as a city and jungle combatant remained intact, though it can hold its own in other spaces. The primary weakness of the OSR series is its severe lack of availability, as well as a relatively unimpressive amount of armor in the standard OSR 2C design. The Ostroc is one of the more interesting designs, and despite being neglected by the Inner Sphere for much of its own history, has always been a useful chassis and platform in a multitude of roles. There is little wonder why Mechwarriors from all eras look upon it favorably. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. With that, I will catch you in the comment section below.